Thanks everyone for joining us this evening. Today we've got two lovely guest speakers I would like to invite. I'd like to introduce our first guest speaker, Mackenzie Wilson, who's the Director of Customer Engagement at SingleKey. And he also runs the Alberta Landlord Community Facebook group, which deals with day-to-day landlording. So he's kind of a pro at landlord stuff. So let's give Mackenzie a round of applause. Let's get started.
Has anyone heard of SingleKey before? Oh, that's good. A couple of hands, 2, 3. All right, awesome. So pretty new crowd then. Yeah, as you introduced, my name is Mackenzie. I live it, I breathe it. I love this whole rental housing provider industry. And as you work with like the great realtors like Santosh and Lane for your power team to buy this and get into invest in real estate, it really doesn't matter what strategy you guys do. Ultimately, to make this work as a long-term financial investment, someone's ultimately in that property paying your bills, paying your rent. And it doesn't matter if you're doing fix and flips, if you're doing lease to owns, all that stuff. Eventually, to do in the long run, someone's got to be paying rent. You got to find tenants. They're your revenue source. So I'm going to go through a little bit of a framework on how to put systems in place to have the best success at finding the great tenants out there. And they're definitely out there. And then from there, we can kind of pick. I've got really 3 topics we could get into, and I'll let you guys pick based on what your needs are. We can either talk about how to read a credit report. We can go through the first part of the tenant screening process, which is where you're doing the phone calls, you're doing the viewings, and you're doing the questionnaires to kind of get them into the property and shortlisted. Or we can cover just some strategies right now in this kind of market. We're in a slower market right now. It's a lot more effort to attract and get those tenants in, and what may have worked 2 years ago is definitely not working right now. And there's just different things you want to change in your process to remove friction, so you're getting the most number of leads that leads to the most number of viewings that gets you a choice of applications to pick from. And when you have choice, then you can actually find good tenants. Because if you only get one application in, how do you know if it's a good application or a bad one, especially if we're in a soft market where we've got maybe unemployment increasing right now, and people are a little bit struggling with the tariffs, depending on what industry they're in. This application right now may not look good when it was 2 years ago when you guys had the pick of the cream of the crop when we were booming and there's low vacancy. And again, raise hand, ask question. If you've got an idea or a question, it's probably other people in the room are thinking the same thing. So who's not screened tenants before? This is brand new to this, or who's had some experience? Brand new couple. Okay, cool. A little bit of experience, and then some seasoned people. Okay. Oh, we got a great mix. Okay, cool. So if you're new to this game, probably why this seems super stressful, or it seems on the surface really stressful, is most of your work for a successful tenancy, in my opinion, and I think when you speak to most people who've done it for a while, is done up front. You put 90% of your effort to find that great tenant. The rest of the tenancy is, I won't say it's passive, but it's on auto cruise. They're easy to work with. You've got the right person. They're going to report if there's issues with the property, if you need to get a plumber in, all those key things. That effort is done up front. But what makes it really challenging is in a short period of time, and actually in any market, really good tenants will always go fast. Soft markets or hot markets, great tenants will go really quickly. You have to be very responsive to attract them. And so your challenge is, in a very short period of time, how do you build enough trust with a complete stranger to give over control of one of the most expensive things you own? And you have to build that trust in a short way, and in a structured way that you can actually know who they are, know the information is accurate and truthful to make that decision to rent to them. So that's the challenging part of it. And it kind of falls down into these 2 key areas. And actually the first one, the financial profile, is actually pretty easy. It's black and white. I'll show you how to get their credit score, what that looks like. And it comes down to running some numbers, making sure they have enough income to afford the rent that you're asking for. The more challenging part is this relationship part. What I may see as my ideal tenant might be different from Santosh's, which might be different, say, from Kayla's. And there's a bit of a way to, when you're going through your screening process, having these different touch points and how that tenant responds, if they're right compatible for you. And that's more of a personal thing, but happy to kind of touch on what that looks like. But really, if you do the second job really, really well, it will often compensate when that tenant falls in hard times. I've had my tenants come send me emails or call to me and say, hey, Mackenzie, I can't make rent this month. I can do $1,000 on the first, and I can get the remainder on the 15th on my second paycheck. I go, great, no problem. Then sure enough, as that comes around, they've followed through on the word and they've paid me the full month's rent, but in a payment plan because they couldn't do it all on the first. Okay, so just by a show of hands, do you guys want to look through an actual credit report and ask me questions and see how that looks like? Do you guys want to go through some screen questions when you're getting that first contact? And then do you guys want to talk some different strategies in the current market being soft? Okay, so credit report? Oh, I don't have that much time. So you're getting 15 minutes quickly of one of these three. Screen questions? You can't ask, you know me. And then number 3. Okay, let's do number 3. Okay. So right now, and actually really across most of Canada, my colleagues in Vancouver and in Toronto, the market's soft right now. We've got higher vacancy rates. The tenants are in the driver's seat right now. For example, if you guys were placing tenants 2 years ago, you could flip up on an ad, and if it had half decent pictures, or didn't even have to have decent pictures, it just could have almost anything, you'd be getting 50, 60, 80 inquiries within the first 24 to 48 hours. It was just such a low vacancy market. The tenants were desperate and they knew it. They were coming to you. That has completely flipped now. I just placed a tenant for December 1st, and I had to be super responsive. So a couple of the things I would change in that process is you can't really delay on an inquiry. If you get an inquiry, you got to pick up and respond to it. A quick way to do that is you should have like a set of basic questions you want to ask, and I call these like pre-screen questions, but they're really just enough questions to justify it's worth your time to get them booked into the viewing. You want to have them easily available on your phone, either as like a digital note and something that you can flip over as a link, or flip the questions into a text message, or whichever way they're interacting with you. It allows you to quickly respond, having some of those tools kind of set for that. But the other thing, what you want to do is once you get a couple of viewings booked, anyone else that you may have not normally have asked, or you wouldn't have made your criteria to justify the time for booking, you're going to actually include them anyways. Because what will happen is if you get, I call this kind of like tea time booking, but if you book, let's say you're going to book a bunch of viewings for starting at 7 o'clock on Friday, you might have one viewing at 7 o'clock, your next viewing at 7:10, your third viewing at 7:20, and so on. And really, maybe the first 2 viewings are your primary targets because they met your criteria, but you had 2 other inquiries, they weren't really great, but you've added them in anyways. And the value of adding these other people in is, one of the most common questions I get at a viewing is, they go at the very end, they go, thanks, Mackenzie. By the way, have you had any other interests? Is there anyone else applying? And I can say whatever I want, and the tenant will kind of take that at face value. But if you go and they see the next set of tenants walking in the door while they're going outside, well, it's no longer just my word. They see it firsthand that there's other people interested. And I tell you what, when they see that even in a slow market, and they see other people looking, and you've made a good impression, you'll get those applications in way faster, because now there's motivation because they know there's actual competition out there, and it's not just your word saying that. So I call that's one strategy. If you're going to invite people out to viewings that normally you wouldn't do in a hot market, just to show the competition and the interest in your property. And so that also comes back to the point is, once I get at least a couple of viewings booked, after that, I'm not asking too many questions. Ideally, if I can get them on the phone, go through the questions. And we actually, you know what? I can flip through the questions here quickly. Oh, here they are here. I can flip you guys on copies of these too. But these are just basically enough questions to justify it's worth everyone's time to meet in person. You know, you don't want to be renting to a family of 6 if you've got a 1-bedroom condo. That doesn't work. If they're looking to move in 3 months from now and you've got a vacancy next month, again, you're probably not going to show the property because that doesn't make sense at that time. These are those kind of basic questions. And then you also just go through and ask them, you know, a couple of my favorite questions are, have you given notice to your current landlord? Have they actually followed proper legislation? Have they given, if it's month to month, I think tenants have to give you a clear month's notice that they're going to move out. because how they've treated their current landlord is probably a good indicator how they're going to treat you as their next landlord. Another one is really good. Oh yeah, number 13. This is my other favorite question. So there's a bunch of other ones. Like you want to just kind of verify their income, how they're going to pay for rent, the size of the party. But number 13 is really good. So you go through, you have a good impression. You've asked the questions of them. They go, great, Santosh. Everything you said is great. Yeah. So we're talking about doing some viewings on Friday. My first slot is 7 o'clock. Does that work for you? Santosh goes, yep, that's great. Okay, go, okay, no problem. Just before I confirm or consider the appointment finalized, I understand life's busy and things happen. I do need you to send me a text about 1 hour before just to confirm the appointment. If I don't get that text, I consider the appointment canceled and I don't show up. And Santosh goes, yeah, great, no problem. And I go, okay, fine. We get off the phone. Friday comes around at 6 o'clock and I haven't heard from Santosh. Two things have just happened here now. I've actually embedded a behavioral test into my screening questions, and I will see if Santosh can follow basic instructions. If he can follow basic instructions and manage his own calendar, it's probably a pretty good indicator he'll be easy to work with when you have to get that plumber in because you have a leak in the property. Also, if he's able to follow simple instructions, then you verify it. If he doesn't text me, this is the bonus part, this is what helps me avoid driving across town for a no-show. If Santosh doesn't send me that text, I don't show up. I spend that night with my family because I got better things to do. And I think I've had probably only twice doing this now for 7 years, and I don't know how many chances I've gone through. I've only been called twice. And in both times, I've said, here, no problem. You didn't confirm it. And he goes, oh, you're right. We'll go and rebook it. And it's a really kind of simple behavioral test to one, to see if they're organized to do it. And two, it helps you avoid no-shows. And that's the biggest thing is managing your time. I imagine most of us in this room probably have a full-time job, probably have a personal life and a family. So this investment strategy is probably third in the totem pole of your priorities and with your own personal time. So anything you can do to manage your time and run it more effectively will just help you with longevity and staying in this business. No questions at all? Oh man, usually I get some questions. Okay. So, and then probably right now through the soft market is you want to be advertising in multiple listings or locations. Typically Calgary's most popular platform has been, over the last 5-7 years, has been Rent Faster. But what you can do as well is a great way to test where you should be listing your property is doing a bunch of different Google searches with different terms. So let's say, for example, you've got a 2-bedroom condo. You might say 2-bedroom condo for rent Calgary, 2-bedroom apartment for rent Calgary. Try different terminology. And what you'll see as you see the search results come in, you want to look for consistently the same sites at the top of the search results. Those are the most popular places that other people are looking. That's where you should have your listings available. So in this market, you're going to be listing in multiple sites. Pictures are everything. I think that's probably pretty straightforward these days. You can do a pretty decent job just to get yourself off the ground with your own phone. But for $100, $150 to have professional photos done, it's super well worth it because that gets the person into your rental listing and actually looking at the ad. What else? Multiple sites. The next thing too, if you can, is having either a video tour or a virtual tour. You want to give that tenant a really good, clear understanding of what that property looks like. Like, what is the layout? Because some families or some tenants coming in, they might be looking for a family. So really important to that mom and dad is having the kids' bedrooms on the same floor or on the same side of the property. So really, if I can go in and your ad's showing me all the pictures of what the property looks like, and it's representative, it's not from 5 years ago when the property was brand new. It's not misrepresenting, but they can walk in and I can imagine myself going through from your front door and walking all through the house and knowing all those rooms are, then I am a lot more qualified tenant when I'm reaching out and calling you because I know what you're offering aligns to what I'm looking for. And again, you're not going to waste your time with tire kickers. What would be the other thing? Yeah, being very responsive. Again, and I call them tea time bookings. Line up your viewings with about 10 minutes apart. It's okay to have your tenants wait a little bit outside. Again, if they see that first party leave and the next set of tenants come in, that is what you want because that creates that demand for your property.
I have a question. question.
Yeah, go for it.
So we're closing on a property that has tenants already and they are behind on payment, and so they're kind of catching up on that. And we're trying to figure out if we let the current owner give them the 90-day notice, or if we buy it and then give them a notice, or how do we kick them out? They're not very good tenants.
Yeah. So there's a few things. Do you know if they're month to month? Are they on the fixed lease?
They're month to month, but they're so far behind that they're like catching up.
And when you say far behind, like how many months of rent are they slow
They're
on?
going to court.
I'm going to flip it over to Kayla. So Kayla's second part of this presentation tonight is RTDRS and this lady.
So that's what I would fully deal with. So do you guys have, is it through the RTDRS or through King's Bench? Do you know?
No.
Okay. So there'll be two different processes. Most likely they went through the RTDRS. It's a cheaper version, which I'll cover after Mackenzie's here. And with that, your easiest one, instead of doing the 90 days, because you are transferring it over, you can do that. But if they're so far behind in rent, it's 21A that they breach, which is failure to pay rent when rent is due. Two things will happen. Either the judge will be like, can you pay this? And they're going to be like, yes or no. Or they will be like, yeah, I can pay $5,000 by Friday, say they owe 10, if I can just stay a little bit longer. Things like that can happen, and then rent will have to be paid on time. Now, if they miss any of those, depending on who they are in there, say if it's just a single adult, they usually get 3 to 5 days and they have to make paid. So it gives you some buffer guards once you have that task. That sounds like in your case, if they're that far behind, this will be the quicker way to get them out.
We're not taking them to court as the current owner.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And so I guess we're wondering, like, do we need to wait to let court settle up, or can we just buy it and kind of?
Is this an investor property or are you going to live in this property?
It's also an investment.
Okay. So to your advantage, soft market right now, and again, Tosh, I'm sure you can speak to it. What's the supply and day right now? Like, it's a buyer's market, right? Or
more
ish?
balance when it comes to detached and semi-detached. Definitely a buyer's market in the condo or townhouse space.
So if you're papering the offer and you see if you can get away with this, is perhaps put that condition on the offer saying that the owner has to deal with that, have them move out. And if they don't get that tenant moved out, that they're going to compensate you for the difference in unpaid rent. So you're still made whole while you're taking ownership of the property, your cash flow looks good. And then you can then follow through with Kayla and taking them to RTDRS, build up your paper case and get that tenant removed.
You could do both at the same time. They can go to court and you can give them the 90 days as long as your sale has gone through.
Right. So
If your sale hasn't gone through, then I wouldn't.
if I put it as a condition, they have legally 90 days.
So if they're month to month and it's the properties for sale, yeah. Okay. So on managing your tenancy, fixed term all the way here in Alberta, that is your saving grace, because at the end of that fixed term, if you don't want to renew that tenancy, at least for any reason, you don't renew it, they're out. That's how it works in Alberta. If you're on month to month, now you're forced to only end that tenancy under, I think there's like, I haven't looked into it, it's like 6 to 7 prescribed reasons under the Residential Tenancy Act ministerial regulations will have those prescribed reasons. I think sale or transfer of ownership is one of them. So you can force that. And I believe it's 3 clear months, not 90 days, but because of course, not all months have the same number of days, but it's 3 clear months. You can force the current owner to take care of that for you. So if you can negotiate that, and they're going to agree to that right now in this kind of market, then do it. Make it part of your purchase. And you're offloading that administrative task and burden onto the seller. And it's just making your job easier to acquire that property.
So this isn't like a red flag, and maybe this is a question for other investors, but would this scare anybody away?
You just need systems to deal with it.
Okay.
Because if the property is good, you've run your numbers and you like the area, and it's just legal suite or whatever you're looking for, like go for it. Like that's typically harder to find than trying to deal with a difficult tenant. There's systems for it. And sorry, you had a question as well.
But it's really hard to take the tenant up if they're month to month. So please make sure that it's part of your condition.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, make sure you handle that part right and talk to a lawyer first, or RTDRS, you just call them and actually ask them about the rules and specifics. But I would also say that even if, let's say you put the onus on the existing landlord to get rid of them, the seller, make them the bad guy. And then when you come in to say, hey, I know you kind of getting kicked out, to be honest, we've got family moving in anyway, so just make up some reason why it doesn't work for them. anyways, and then to say, but if you leave the place clean and good, which I'm sure you would anyways, we'll give you $500 just to, we would clean it anyways. They probably wouldn't, number one. But then they're like, we don't want to trash the house because we hate the current owner, not the new ones taking over that offered us $500 because they feel bad for us. So just be the good guy in the transaction. Even though you got to give up $500, they're probably going to clean the place. They're not going to leave that old stinky bed there that then you'd have to pay someone else $500 to come clean out. So whatever you can, always try and be the good guy paying a tenant to leave. If they have nothing to lose by trashing the place and bring concrete down the drains, they might just be those type of people. So it's better off try to be a little bit kind on the way out. So that's, I typically do that. At the very least, you get all their junk removed. They're probably still not going to clean it very well, but at least their junk will be out of there and they won't kick holes in the walls and all that. So.
That's advice.
I'll just add one thing to that for you. Most likely, I don't know when you're going to take possession, but the court date will probably happen prior.
You think? I feel like the court might take a while.
No, like when would you get possession of the new investment property?
Like a month.
All right, they would be probably close. So if they've already applied and have a court date, it's probably the start of January. Yeah, depending on if they did that yesterday.
Okay.
They're booking within the first 2 weeks of January right now. But you could, get the buffer there.
Yeah. Another question? Okay, yeah.
Sorry, I'm going back to SingleKey.
Please.
So my question is, there's like cost
Yep.
to go through SingleKey. How do you usually position it to potential tenants? I have like my positioning statement, but I want to hear yours.
Sure,
See if that's
sure.
better.
Yeah. So there's a couple different tools we have with the SingleKey platform. It's one it's free to create an account, and then you choose to use different services, and you just pay as you need those services. We have a pre-screen tool on the front end to help you collect those leads as they come in. But when you go to do the full SingleKey report, it's basically it's a two-piece thing. It's an application on the front end. It's very comprehensive, and on the back and on the report side, you get a full credit check. So same things that mortgage brokers or banks will use to approve you on a mortgage. We're giving you the exact same financial picture on that tenant to rent from you. We also do ID verification. You know what? I'll pull up a sample report instead of just going through all the stuff. But what I would position to it is if you want to push the costs on the tenant.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know if you want to be doing it right now because again, soft market. If you've got a great looking tenant, I'd be paying the $20 for the. We guys have a discount with Santosh's group, 20% off. If you don't have that, we'll make sure at the end of the night you'll have a discount for SingleKey reports. Pay that right now, like for $20 or $25 to get a good lead to have a full application to go and move forward. Because if you lose that tenant and now, like for example, I just placed a family for December 1st, and my current tenant moved out in the middle of November. I lost 2 weeks. Now, if I was quick enough and responded earlier on, but we were going on vacation, so we had some other obligations. But if I was quick enough, I could have avoided 2 weeks of vacancy. Those 2 weeks costed me $1,970 divided by 2. That was my monthly rent. Pay the $20 up front, $30, whatever. Especially if you got someone that looks good and they've checked all your boxes and they've not given you any red flags. Move fast. But if you're in a hot market or you're in more of a balanced market where you have the opportunity to push that cost on the tenant, what you can do is say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Tenant, by the way, my policy is I use SingleKey for my tenant screening. There's a cost to it. It's about $25, $30, whatever. I will pay, you have to pay the application fee to do that. If I select you, I'm going to reimburse you. So I do that part. Second part though is if I don't choose you, not a problem. You can create your own account on SingleKey. You can get access to your report. By the way, by doing that, you're going to protect it from doing multiple checks with other property managers. And you can take that report and shop around and share with every other place you apply to for the next 35 days. So you remove their obligation because the typical objection from a tenant is, well, I don't want to have multiple hits on my credit score. No problem. This is one time. You can share it and you can reuse it as many times as you want. So then it removes their objection. Yeah, they're going to, honestly, in this day and age now, most people are doing credit check. That's just the standard and the norm. So, yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yes. So, sorry, I
Ask more.
want to double click on that. And then if, for example, the tenant isn't selected and they're gonna be bringing you in their single key, how long ago of that single key report will be acceptable to you as a landlord?
Quick question. So on our system, I believe we give the tenant 35 days from the day they activate and buy their credit check, 35 days going forward. I would want to see a report within 1 month. In 35 days is fine. If you stretch it to 45, I don't want to see something from 3 months ago or earlier in the year, because that tells me you pulled a report in the summer and now you're planning on my property in November. Like, what were you doing in the summer? Did you get kicked out? Like, why do you have a report from that time ago? The next most common thing you'll get from tenants will say is, well, I've got Credit Karma or Borrowwell, or I have my credit score on my app. Here's a screenshot. I go, great, that's fine. Unfortunately, I can't accept that because I still need to get it directly from the bureau. It's just part of my due diligence process. If you accept documentation directly from a tenant, there's always the opportunity and perhaps the need, especially if someone's desperate, and you got to think from their position. They're looking for housing. They might have a family, maybe someone off a divorce, and they want to have a place that they can have their 7-year-old come live with them, and they're struggling right now because they're on a friend's couch. What would you do if you're in that situation? Would you perhaps polish up the application a little bit more than what it currently is just to get through? That's kind of when you understand where they're coming from. Therefore, where I'm going with this is you want to just get the big. I guess I kind of breezed over this point. The big thing with collecting and doing your screening, your job is to collect as much relevant information, but verify it from trusted sources. So if they're going to send you that screenshot, sure, whatever, but you can say you're still required to do the credit check through SingleKey, because you're getting that credit data from us, and we're pulling it directly from Equifax or TransUnion. It's truthful. And I think that's going to become incredibly more important as we are in this AI wave right now, because AI is changing everything. And as it becomes as easy to use a spell check for the common person who's not tech savvy, those quality and the appearance of applications on the surface without doing your due diligence, there's going to be no way to tell a good one from a bad one until you start fact checking all the stuff that builds that application and puts it together. Okay, we'll go through. So who's not seen a credit score before? Okay, who's seen? Has someone seen? Have you seen your Equifax or TransUnion credit score before? Is it easy to read?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That depends. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. This is the same information that we're looking at. So we provide you the same information on the Equifax and TransUnion credit score. It's completely detailed. It's a full profile, meaning that if they open up a credit card from 22 years ago, you're going to see their credit card with 22 years of credit information and how well they paid that credit card. We've really spent a lot of time on making this easy to read, especially if you've never seen a credit score before. Within a minute, you're going to build at least at a very high level understand what you're looking at, and I'll explain it more. So by the time we kind of get through it, it's going to be pretty easy. And if you got any questions, please raise your hand. I want to explain everything here. So we're looking at a sample report right now. This first little section here is just a kind of a quick high level summary. So we've got their credit score. In this case, it's 493. We've got their debt to income ratio, and then their rent to income ratio. A thing about credit scores, you can infer a lot just from the scores. So in this case, it's pretty low. But if you've got someone in that questionable range of let's say 570, 580, 590, 600 on the low side, up to maybe 650, and you're kind of humming or hawing whether you want to take them. A credit score is just a single snapshot in time. It's not indicative of necessarily their financial habits, and especially if they've had a life event like divorce, job loss, things of that nature, where they've had an external factor crush or damage their credit score quite severely, but it doesn't really reflect their financial habits. Now, I've got some ways for you to get around that, and the beauty of that part is if you can get someone that is financially is stable, they've got good habits, but they've just gone through, say, a bad divorce, you've got a really good tenant that will probably be super thankful, can make for a great, reliable tenant going forward, and especially in a soft market, you've just landed a good tenant where maybe otherwise you would have ignored. We provide a bit of a quick overview here. What's nice about this is you get to see the size of the party that's renting from you. And this is a good way to see if they're, judge the wear and tear on your property. Ideally, ideally at this stage, there should be no surprises. The way you want to be using us as a screen provider is you've done your viewings, you've had your chats, the tenant goes, great, Mackenzie, I love your property, I want to rent from you, what's your next step? And this is when you say, okay, I've got the service, I used SingleKey, you send the link and they go and apply on it. So you want to use us when you've shortlisted your kind of your favorite tenants out of the viewings you've done. By that time, you should already kind of know what their party is and all that stuff. So ideally, what you see in our report is confirming what you already know. If not, then there's red flags. So the next part we're looking at here, this is the rental application section. All pretty straightforward stuff. My two favorite things here that we've done quite a bit differently, we've got this little green check mark. And so a pro tip that we used to say, or I used to do, was all the rental history on their application, what we do is we cross-reference it with all the billable addresses found on their Equifax or TransUnion credit report. So if they open up a cell phone with TELUS 2 years ago and wherever they're living at that time, they use that as their billing address, in theory, you should see that on their rental history address 2 years ago. It's not perfect because the data in Equifax and TransUnion systems aren't 100%, but if you're getting a cross-reference match there from Equifax to their rental application on their addresses, you've got a really high degree of confidence factor that information is now truthful, and you can move forward and trust it. So that's pretty cool about that. We also do this automatic emailer system. So as the tenant fills up this application and hits send, we're going to automatically email the landlord listed on the current and previous landlords to ask for a quick reference. Now, if the tenant has used their buddy as their fake landlord reference, and it comes back, unicorns and rainbows, 5 stars across the board, take it with a grain of salt. But if this comes back critical, and this person's like 3 out of 5 stars, the tenant was good, paid on time, but he was messy. Well, hey, great. You've just got more information to work with to make a more informed decision. Bonus. So that's how you should be using the landlord reference section. So what we do now, we have an occupant section too, is when the tenant goes and apply, and by the way, every adult over the age of 18 has to go through a credit check and should be listed as a tenant on your lease. Why is that important? As opposed to, say, just putting one tenant on as the main tenant and then having the other adult listed as an occupant on your lease. Why would you want both adults as tenants on your lease? What's the advantage?
Because you can go after both individuals if one defaults.
You just doubled two bank accounts to go after in the worst case scenario if they've stopped paying rent. Absolutely. Because if you've only got one tenant listed as the tenant, and then their friend is because there's a section in your lease where you can put other occupants in the property. Well, you only got one bank account, one person to go after if things go sideways. 100%. Love it. Yeah.
How about if they're senior?
If they're senior?
Yeah, like 65. You don't.
So like if you had like a couple and they had their mom or dad living with them, I would probably leave that to your judgment call. Depending, obviously some cultures that's more of the norm. It would depend on the financial strength of the two younger applicants. If they're pretty sound, then I'd be okay with it. If they were more questionable, then I'll probably be putting all three on. Let's jump into the credit report. Oh yeah, so we asked some basic set of questions, all that kind of stuff. So our application process, tenants can upload any supported documentation they deem relevant to help their application. It could be anything from I've seen Canadian work permits uploaded for new Canadians. Also, in this case, we've got pay stubs, bank statements, their ID, and they have a photo of their cat too. So we actually capture quite a bit of information. And again, we're trying to set you with a great foundation of all this information going forward. So we're following that kind of saying is you hope for the best, hope you don't ever need all this information. But in the worst case scenario, if it's the worst case, then you've got the legal name, you know who the person is to go after them if you have to do servings and all those things. But what we also do for the pay stub, so for pay stubs and bank statements, if they upload them as PDF, which is, by the way, the only way we accept them, we'll actually scan them and make sure there's no, they haven't been photoshopped or changed. So in this case, they've scanned this one, there's some issues found, the document's expired. We make sure that, I believe, the pay stub is no more than 90 days old. So you want recent information you're looking at. We also scan to make sure that the legal name on the pay stub matches the legal name on the application, matches the legal name on the ID that they provide. All these information should be the same. And a couple of the other things too, I'm going to get a little more technical here, but if you look at when they send you the PDF of their pay stub, if you click on the properties or the get info, depending if you're a Mac or PC, you're going to see a bunch of information in there. That's called metadata. We also scan and check that as well to make sure it hasn't been changed. So if you get a TD bank statement and it says the PDF editor is Canva or I love PDF, is that a red flag? That's not a good thing. It should either be the name of the business, or if they're using a third party like we call it a payment processor for what's the word for it? For pay stubs, it should be a reputable name that you can find. But if you're seeing something like an editing software in there that's off the internet, there's a red flag that things have been altered.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's because sometimes like when they're using that, the PDF file is just too big for SingleKey to accommodate. So they have to compress that file. So does it mean that it's a red flag because of that?
I wouldn't think
So there's two. So there's an editing software and then there's a publishing software. The publishing software could be changed in that situation, and so it may not be a red flag. You'd have to kind of see what the name of the software is. But if you're opening up a TD bank statement and it says Canva as a PDF editor, well, why would they suck it through Canva to change what on it first? That's the red flag. Another thing is if the create date and the modified date, if there's a significant time gap between the two, that means it could have been changed after the fact. But generally, though, that publishing software, which is the program, the software that created that PDF, should have context or relevant to the document you're looking at. If it's the bank, ideally should have the Bank of Montreal. If they use a third-party IT software, then if you Google that software name and like, oh yeah, this company serves the banking industry for creating all their bank statements. Okay, cool. And that's okay. But it's making sure you're not seeing like, I love PDF or ChatGPT.
Can compress actually PDF.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's valid.
Well, that's fair then. But generally, when you pull bank statements and most of those things, they're not really quite huge to begin with. You shouldn't have to compress those. You had some trouble? Okay. Well,
Yeah. Let's just use judgment, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And when I'm saying red flag, if you, not one thing alone could be a deal stopper. It's when you get 3 or 4 or 5 of these things, you're like, okay, now this is starting to look a little suspect. I got to dig further. Okay, we're taking quite a long time here. So here's the credit score. Again, at the beginning, here's those billable addresses I was talking about. Again, we cross-reference to try to match those automatically for you. I still recommend doing this yourself because maybe how someone spelled, some of this information has been manually input. There could be spelling errors. And the software and the scanning, the algorithm that we use for scan, they're still not perfect. There could be errors, so it's always good to validate yourself. But basically what we're doing again is validating that the billable addresses that found in this Equifax report do match some of the ones on the rental history. We've got some just big buckets or summaries of the different types of trade lines. Who doesn't know what a trade line is, by the way? Okay, no problem. So trade lines, anything where you've had to get credit from a third party, they'll open up as its own trade line or transaction on your credit score. So that could be credit cards, car loans, a new cell phone from TELUS because it costs $1,000, anything that someone's let you credit or collateral, they can open up as a trade line on your credit score. So one of my favorite things that we added in halfway through this year is this trade line payment overview. And this is where I was kind of talking about at the beginning. If this person's got that damaged credit score because of the life event, this is going to be a really quick way to figure that out. If you see a bunch of late payments all in one period of time, let's say it happened, July of last summer, and they just told you they got laid off, that's when they had their divorce. Awesome, their stories are lining up. But if you're looking at this payment history and you're seeing like a checkerboard random, no rhyme or reason, and what you're seeing here, if it's a green check mark, they've paid that credit card on time. In this case, July 2024 for Capital One. And if it's 30, that means they've not paid that. They're over 30 days late, or 30 days past the due date, and then so on, 30, 60, 90, 120. And if there's a checkerboard pattern here, that person's probably not financially sound. And that's your red flag. That's your big key to move on. And then what we've also done too is you can't really see the color as well on the screen. It's a little bit bright, but there's 3 colors. So this TD mortgage, it should be shown as yellow. If it's green, you're good to go. They're paid up in current. If it's yellow, they've got some late payments. And if it's red, I don't know if I've got my red example here. Yeah, this one's red right here. Red is, and you can click and open up on any of these as well. Red is they've likely gone to collections. But we'll display all the information. So in this case, this person's had this Wells Fargo personal loan for 19 months. It's used 74% of their utilization of the total amount. They have $7,000 past due. You can see everything about the financial product that they have lent. It's pretty detailed. For those that have seen Equifax and TransUnion credit scores, is this easier to read or yeah? Yeah, we've tried to remove a lot of the jargon out of it. Cool. I'll quickly do the ID thing, and that's kind of, I'll finish up there. So we added ID verification. So we've always allowed tenants to upload a picture of their ID. I've had in the past where I've done viewings, and I've had a tenant come on Saturday or Sunday. I get the report back Monday or Tuesday. I'm looking at the report, and I have a passport that is 1 year left to expire in a 10-year passport, and it's 9 years old. And I can't even confidently say the person I met 48 hours ago is the same person I'm looking at in this report, because they look vastly different. They've shaved their head, or they've added or lost 100 pounds, whatever. I can't confidently say that. So what we've added this year is really cool now is not only do we still get the photo, the government issued ID, but you get a current selfie. And we'll help do a little bit of a sanity check with you. Is that person the person in the ID? Do they match? Is the ID valid? Again, has it not been expired? It hasn't been tampered with. Again, our goal is to provide you a bunch of information to start from a strong position. Lastly, I'll wrap up here because I've gone super long here, is we do a bunch of record searches. Who's heard of Open Room? Open Room? So there are 2 landlords in Ontario. It got burnt. They lost $120,000. This is back in 2021. They got mad. They did something about it. They started a crowdsourcing platform for eviction data. I think they're over 40,000 records now. Most of it's Ontario-based, but we have patched in, we've got direct access. So we are scanning that database for any eviction data that's been shared in that platform, and we put it Open Room right here. Canley, has anyone heard of Canley? So Canley is used by lawyers to study previous cases, to study precedents as they research for their own trials. What goes into Canley is eviction data from the tribunal of that province. So Alberta, we're called the RTDRS, Residential Tenancy Dispute Resolution Service. Ontario is the LTB, Landlord Tenant Board. And if there's eviction data in those records, we can show them up here. Soju Tal, that is Quebec's tribunal. So a quick kind of caveat on this: if this comes back perfectly clean and all green, Not all information is available online. Unfortunately, here in Alberta, if you guys want to search directly through RTDRS and all their old records, you send a request on the website. Sometimes in 3 to 5 or 6 business days, you'll get a response. To me, I think that tells me someone at Service Alberta is running between filing cabinets or doing something to do that search for you. But again, if you're in a market like it's slow right now, and you're trying to attract or trying to lock in a hot tenant or a really high quality tenant, you're not going to have time to wait 3 to 6 business days to do that check at RTDRS, unfortunately. So there's records out there. Most provinces aren't online right now. That there might be eviction data that you just don't have in this purview because not all that data is available online yet, just as an FYI. Okay, I think I'll wrap it up. I've talked a little bit long. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
All right, so we have part 2 of this presentation. I'd like to invite Kayla Wilson. Kayla Wilson is the CEO of Everyway Legal Support, so they provide assistance to landlords who might be in trouble, or they also do tenant representation as well. So let's take it away.
Hi, well, he's bringing it up. Again, my name is Kayla. I'm CEO of Everyway Legal Support. So what we do is process serving is what half of our company does. And the other half represents tenants and landlords through the RTDRS. Now, with saying that, we're probably 98% representing landlords than we do tenants. They don't typically come to us. We do get the odd one, but virtually it's mostly just landlords that we're representing. Has anyone here done the RTDRS process before? No, okay. Well, I should have did my presentation differently then. Thank you. So what I was going to do today was defending an RTDRS claim. So around this time last year, the RTDRS had just over 14,000 cases that came through. This year, it's 16,000. So there is an uptick going forward. And for our company alone, for landlords being sued by their tenants have gone up 4 times now. So it's being increasingly more popular. And a lot of our clients, I would say probably 80% of them are corporate landlords, so a very large organization who has thousands of doors. And then we have people with less doors as well. So that will go in there. If none of this, ask questions throughout it, because since no one has done this process before, defending it might seem a little bit different, but hopefully I can round everything out for us. So why the RTDRS matters. They handle about 90% of all landlord-tenant disputes right now. It's a faster turnaround to get a court time. So we're looking at about 5 weeks right now. They have added on, I think, 8 additional hearing officers as of late November. So hopefully it'll get down to about a 2-week turnaround time. That's what it used to be about a year-ish ago, be between 2 to 3 weeks. We're sitting at 5 weeks. And in the summer, I think we were about 8 weeks out. So they're fast, it's low cost. You pay a one-time fee of $75 upfront to even just submit the application. And the RTDRS only deals with claims $100,000 and less, okay? So anything over and above that would have to go through the Court of King's Bench. Now, if you own your own property, you can represent yourself. But if you work for a corporation, you would have to send a lawyer to that. Common claims, so non-compliance, so typically non-payment of rent. That's probably the biggest one that goes forward. Complaints from tenants would be deposits not being refunded or deficiencies. And then another one, which is large by the landlord, would be overholding. So the tenant had a fixed term, supposed to leave at the end of November, but he goes, I don't care, I'm hanging out anyways. So you'll have an overholding tenant, which you'd have to go through. And now with defense, 70% success rate, like you're more successful if you have strong evidence. So make sure you're prepared, which I can go through kind of how to do your claim as well and what it would look like if you're defending your claim. So we'll go through what happens if you're served by your tenant. What do you do next? As well as decode the claim. What are they really looking for? Did it need to go this far? Can we settle outside of court without having to do the whole dance? Evidence. Evidence, documentation. I will say that over and over and over again. Please document everything. Hearing prep, what that'll look like for you when you are in a hearing. And then prevention on a couple of things that might work out if we didn't get this far, and then we could do some Q&A. Does anyone have any questions to start? No? Okay. So being served, check service, was it valid? So with the RTDRS, either if you are putting in the application or receiving it, you have to have 3 clear business days before the hearing began. If your hearing's on Friday, you need to be served or serve the tenant on a Monday, latest. Preferably if you got it and you know your court date's out 6 weeks out, just serve them as soon as possible. They should do the same as you. And then with that, look at the packet. Do you get the notice of hearing, the application, as well as the evidence? So if you are served something that just says a notice of hearing, there'll be an application, but nothing else, you weren't served with everything. So at the bottom of the application, there will be an evidence portion, and you can see what has been uploaded to the RTDRS. So if there's 4 pieces of evidence, your packet should have more. Same as if you're going to serve your tenant, you need to give them the whole packet. Now, a timeline, your first response. It is scary to get served, especially something of this nature. A lot of the times that we've seen tenants serving their landlord, they're going for $50,000, just throwing everything at it when maybe they're entitled to $1,000. But they're going to try to go. So don't be alarmed right away with the number. It doesn't mean that is what's going to happen, and that's what's going to be charged. So with that, look at the evidence, file a response. Say they gave it to you too quickly, you can ask for an adjournment. That is no problem. You can say, hey, we just received this. I haven't been able to retain. I haven't been able to look at anything. I would like this to be adjourned later out, and they'll do that for you. They're very accommodating, as scary as it may be. Now, a pro tip with the RTDRS, once you get it, or if you are sending out one, set up your profile with them. It'll give you lots of great tips on what you have to do. If you are defending an application, you can upload your evidence within 24 hours of the hearing. With that said, you have to serve the tenant the same amount as well. So make sure your time rate is good, but you'll also be able to see if it's going to be a full hearing or a preliminary hearing. So if it's a preliminary hearing, you can say, okay, I don't have to sweat so much about this right now because they're going to set a new date. And the new date usually gets sent out a month or so later. And then you'll have time to gather things together, but that's always a great thing to look at so you know what you're stepping into. Any questions about what happens if you are served with documents? Yeah.
So like, what would happen if they didn't give us the 3 clear days, they served within 2 days, or the package said there should be 4 pieces of evidence and there's only 1 picture on the thing?
The adjournment.
And what does that mean by adjournment? Is it just gets postponed and we come back to it later?
Correct. So it'll give the applicant a chance to serve you with the proper documents and then be able to go forward with it. So you can always say for adjournment, you don't have to just go through it because what's happening. The TDO will be very accommodating, especially when it comes to service. It's very important. Tenancy dispute officer.
I have a question.
Sure.
So what happens if you're going to the tenant, because of non-payment,
Mhm.
they can just hang out at your place and they'll continue to just not pay?
Yes, technically, yes. What you have to do to be able to enforce anything, so some tenants might know that 14-day notice really, lack of a better word, does shit. It's a piece of paper, it's documentation for you. You'll put that in your case, but actually you can't kick them out because how are you going to do it? You have to hire a bailiff. In order to get a bailiff, you have to have a court order. And that's where you have to do this step. Which you have the option to do it through the RTDRS or Court of King's Bench. This is a cheaper, quicker option to do it. And all their findings are filed with the Court of King's Bench as well. They follow the same rules. It's just an arm of a tribunal of the court. So to decode the claim, what they're really looking for. Is your tenant looking for termination? Could this have been resolved prior? So consent, waive the loss, like the rent, peace of mind, what is worth it to you in the end of it? Rent abatement's probably the biggest one that they're looking for. So for you, they'll have to prove full use or enjoyment. So a lot of the time they'll want rent abatement. We have one recently, there's scaffolding on the side of the buildings. They're not allowed to open their patio doors, although windows are blocked off. It's not a great place to live in when you're sitting in the dark for a couple of months. Now, the landlord chose not to give any rent abatement. People have asked, did nothing of it. They took them to court. So, and then that's where it'll decide what will happen, how much is worth your peaceful enjoyment, how much of the property did you lose for over a certain period of time. And then landlord duties, compensation, show notice given cost reasonable. So you can't go above and beyond. What a lot of landlords need to know is you can't make yourself better, you make yourself whole. So sometimes it doesn't seem fair, but you can't, so say the flooring gets destroyed, you can't put in better flooring than what it was there. So you have to go somewhere comparable in there. And then security deposit returned. So it'll be up to you, the burden is on you to make sure you do a move in, a move out, and that you're following the depreciation chart. So say your tenant lived in your property for 6 years, their kid decided to write everything all over the walls, now you want to charge them for painting because the walls are destroyed. Now with the rules of the RTDRS and the RTA, 6 years you have to repaint anyways, you can't charge your tenant that. So be aware of the depreciation chart, and it breaks it down to screens, to knobs, to fridge drawers. Everything in there has a value and a shelf life. So be very aware of that. So those are the typical reasons why a tenant is probably going to take you to court. Yes.
The depreciation is on the owner, right?
Correct. Yep. So evidence, the essentials, do a lease. Do not do a verbal lease. I know that is accepted in Alberta. I highly, highly do not recommend it. Make sure you have a good ledger, photos of before and after, repair bills of anything of that, and then if any witnesses that were needed for it. And then again, follow the depreciation chart. And then digital gold, emails, have everything in writing. Documentation is key. Even if your tenant loves to talk on the phone, follow up with an email. If they don't do email, have a little written letter, post it to their door. Make sure you have everything in writing. That is what a hearing officer is going to want to see. Otherwise, it becomes a hearsay scenario, and whoever can plead the best case at that point is going to be more of the winner of it. For deposits, interim statements, as well, serving tenants 24 hours prior to a hearing and uploading it to the court. So that is if you're being served. If you are serving someone, you'll upload all of that prior to. And then, so the hearing prep, what we'll do is this is what's going to happen when you're in it. Now, a lot of landlords don't love this part because they're more emotionally fueled. And that's where my company comes in. We take the emotion out of it. It's strictly fact business to us. So prep, if you are going to do it yourself, find a quiet spot. Make sure you have some notes, have it a little bit scripted, have your witnesses on standby if they decide to call them or not. During it, facts only. No drama. If that tenant's going to call you the worst thing ever, and you're like, that's not me, that's not my character, do not interrupt. You do not have to defend yourself in that. Just make sure you stick to the task at hand because they will get mean. It happens. I've heard some outrageous things. It may be true, may not be true, but that's not why we're there today. You can cross-examine your tenant in the hearing as well. So as long as you do it in a respectful manner, everything will go, and only speak when spoken to. No one likes to overtalk each other. If you do it too many times, they'll disconnect you and you're done. It'll proceed with or without you. Good phone tips, good signal. You can literally take this hearing from Mexico if you choose. It's all done telephone. There is an exception to do it in person, but we haven't seen it granted in a couple of years. They hardly ever do it now. As well as have good notes. So how the hearing may go is it's on the applicant who gets to go first. So in this case, it'd be the tenant. They get to say their entire case, and then it goes to you. Some TDOs will have it rebuttal back and forth. So make sure you take notes throughout the whole thing that you want to make a point about. Be like, that was incorrect. We had someone repair it on this day, not the month that they said. Things like that, just so you have everything handy. It'll make you come across as more credible, organized, and things like that going forward. And it's a good tip if you are doing it yourself as well. Label your pages, so you can do a quick reference. So when you do get on there, say, oh, reference page C1 is where you can see that there's a giant hole in the door, and we want this done here. Any questions on that? I know I'm going a little bit quick because I don't want to eat everybody's time from there. Okay.
Can you talk a little more about like the documentation? I know you mentioned it kind of before, but layering the communication.
Yeah, I was going to go into that once we do this side, but great question. So here are some preventions to hopefully minimize a tenant taking you to court. So screen your tenants rigorously. One, you can use SingleKey from the guy before me. Preferences, credit, invest now, you'll save later. Again, use a lease. I highly recommend doing a fixed term, and also do not do a verbal one. Cover pets, utilities, anything. I would stay away from anything verbal. So even if you are through it, they want to add in something or a person or you want to change, make it an addendum, write it, sign it, give a copy to both people. Don't be like, oh yeah, I said she could have a dog, but no, I don't want that dog there. Well, it's going to end you into a little bit more of a situation. As well as inspections, non-negotiable. Do a move-in, move-out. You don't do a move-in, your security deposit has to be returned. Don't even think about charging them a thing. So I recommend doing a move-in, move-out, as well as regular or yearly inspections. Yes?
Move-in inspection, is it okay to do a video, but instead of written, we just...
Yeah, you can definitely do a video.
This day, here's the tenant, we're gonna walk through and
Mm-hmm.
the door's fine, the window's good.
Yep.
The paint on the wall's fine, and the tenant's there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, video is always accepted, as well as I highly recommend photos with the written as well. With the video, sometimes, and photos too, things might not be proportioned in size-wise, so just be mindful of that. And then if you do think you will have to serve your tenant a video if you do have to take them to court or anything, so think of that what you take will be distributed to that person as well. So be mindful with the commentary and things like that while you're doing it, is more so what I'm saying. Yes. Perfect.
Hi tenant, welcome to your 360. Let's go walk through.
Yeah.
Okay, how's the wall here? Good. How's the door here? Good. Cabinets all work? Yes. Okay, open and close? Yes.
Yeah.
That way, it just minimize paperwork, 12 and 0 prep time.
Yeah, definitely. It is. Okay. No, I was going to say, as long as you do it in the move-in, do it the same way on the move-out. Don't do one over the other or mix it up. Make it similar to it so then it can be viewed. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes.
I might be wrong on this, but I think when you do a move-in, the tenants need to sign a statement.
They do. Yeah, it's not just video, for sure. You have that portion.
Sign a statement.
What if they're there? Do you approve?
Yeah.
No, I would still have that part. Sorry, I didn't realize with that. Yes, once you do your video move out, have them sign that everything was good to go. But always have that written portion.
There's very specific language, and it's in that ministerial
Yes.
regulation of the RTA that tells you they rail the whole statement. There's three ways you can write it. Everyone agrees, the tenant was not present, the tenant disagrees with this condition report or the inspection report. So I think if you cover that verbiage in your video, I recommend just having one page to support your things. And then for Kayla, probably a good point about the context. If there's an existing scratch in the wall, stick a business card, a credit card, something that we can give context. Like, oh, that scratch is only 3 inches, not 13 inches. It's just looking at the picture, you can't tell if it's zoomed in or out.
Yeah.
That context is good.
Very hard to tell, for sure. Oh, yeah.
Can you transcribe it as well? So after doing the video, have a written document of this is what we went through.
Yeah, AI and all that's great for it, as long as your tenant signs it at the end.
Okay,
That's all you have to
that's
do.
all I wanted to
Yep.
check. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. That's actually a great way to do it. Everyone's verbiage is nice.
Transcribe it and then get it signed. So I just wanted to know
Yeah.
if that was also you could do. Okay.
Yes, definitely. And then this will lead me to the last point on here, a paper trail everything. So since nobody here has submitted an RTDRS request, I will go a little bit into that. So what you will need and what we would need if you hired our firm, we need a lease. we need a ledger, and then we also need notices. So do proper notices. Don't just text them each month being like, hey, you're late. Give them a notice of default on their door. Give them a 14-day termination if you don't pay XYZ, or if it's disturbances or anything like that. Don't call and be like, hey, the neighbors have complained, you're being quite loud. Have it written. Written. Have it done. Give them the formal notice of it. Because now it's on your obligation as well as if the neighbor's complaining about, let's say, the basement tenant. Now you'll have to prove to them that you're doing something to remedy the situation, because that's on you. Because you don't want the upstairs guy to take you to court and be like, the downstairs guy's so loud and you're doing nothing about it. Be like, these are what I am doing. So it just covers you from each end. But yes, notices are very important. Emails, if you have things by email. Texts do work. It's just a lot of screenshotting and it's hard to kind of get a good flow of it depending on what it is. But the written proper notices, follow the RTA on that. Post them and do that. Yes. Oh, sorry.
Email is okay? Are they email notice?
Oh, you have to post it. You have to post a notice.
On the door?
Yes.
Or in person?
No. You could do both, but you need to post it to the door if it's a default.
Or in person?
Yes, either or, but you'll have that piece of paper to provide them. It'll have the address, it'll have their names, the date, and you need to sign it. So make sure you follow that.
Problems or whatever the complaint was.
Pardon me?
And list the reason for the notice, like.
Yes, exactly. So the RTA has like a great quick form that you can take from there, or places like the CRRA, you can take their notices and they are done by, I think, their lawyer, Chris Ouster. Use that. That will be the proper way to do it. Even like rental increases, you have to post it. That cannot be a text message or a phone call. You need to do it that way. Or registered mail.
The RTA website, this form you're saying?
The RTA will give you a framework of it. It won't give you the actual form, but go look at the CRRA or there's ARLA.
What is CRRA?
So it's the Calgary Residential Rentals. Yeah. You can buy forms from them, as well as there's an Alberta Residential Landlord Association.
Alberta Residential Landlord Association.
Yeah. But yeah, make sure you have the proper forms, because that'll go to court. And if you don't have the proper stuff, it's invalid. But a lot of it, you can kind of get away with the non-payment of rent. Yes, sorry.
Question, do you
Yes.
take you post a notice, do you take a picture to?
I would. Yeah. Yeah, you have it in your pocket that way. They'd be like, I did post on that day, because it was like, I never got it. They didn't do anything. Like, well, actually, I did on this day. Here's my photo evidence.
And if it's a house with two doors, a front yard and a backyard, do both doors. You want to.
You would do the one that is the main entrance of the home. So if the front door is not the main entrance of the home and you know it's the back, then post it to that one. But anything that has the address on it, so it'll say house 245, post it, get the door number, done, you're good to go. Yeah. Yes.
I'm always curious about tenant insurance.
Mhm.
It's not mandatory.
Correct.
Then they can cancel it at any time.
Correct.
So if something happens to the property, what is the protection for the landlord if at the time of screening,
Mhm.
they provide you that copy,
Yeah.
and then something happens, then all of a sudden they're not insured? Is there any way that it can go through RTDRS or any protection that the landlord can have?
They won't rule in the favor of the tenant with the landlord insurance, because that is a financial penalty to the tenant. So that's where it would become, as you, as a business owner of doing these rentals, that you have insurance. And now, depending on what the damage is, can you go after them for your deductible? Yes.
Okay.
So-
But it's like more than that. Like, how can you go after the tenant?
What do you mean if it would be
For
more?
example, like the damage is around like $20,000.
Yeah. So you can still go after them for $20,000. You just, like I mentioned before, your documentation, your repairs, everything of that. So you cannot submit to the RTDRS until you have completed those repairs. So you can't give an estimate of this is what this may cost me. It has to be completed. Then go through the depreciation chart. Again, say they threw the microwave on the wall, on the floor, but the microwave was already 12 years old. You're not going to get anything for the microwave. So follow the depreciation chart if you do have damages, and then file a damage claim. And now with the RTDRS, you can only file up to $100,000, and you have 2 years to submit a claim. And that goes both ways. The tenant has 2 years to put a claim on you. You have 2 years to put a claim on them. Once it goes past the 2 years, you're past the limitation date.
And you can also claim like any interest incurred because of that wait time. Is that possible?
No. Yeah. The interest on the wait time of being paid back.
Like for example, like you have to like borrow those funds.
Yeah, no.
No?
That would be on you being the homeowner and the business that you are stepping into. That's not, that can't be a penalty on the on the tenant.
And then how do they enforce the payment?
So, great question. Now, this is where you would see if this is worth your time or not to do it, because sometimes you can't get blood from a stone, right? That's up to you to decide if you want to go through the hassle of doing this or not. So, screening tenants, that's a good way to do it. Make sure they got financial backing. If you can get where their banking is, you can do a garnishee on their wages. Do you know where they work? There's things like that you can do. You can go through a collection agency, but you have to get a court order first.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you'd have to go through a collection agency or something of that nature. Yes.
My question was related to communication.
Yeah.
What levels of communication are now, because I understand that written communication is one thing, but but that they're accepting some degree of email communication or text message if that is proven to be a standard way of communicating. So if you go back and forth with your tenant once a week on issues, or they're texting you back and forth on some disagreement, and then a notice gets sent through that format, that's actually, the courts will say, well, that's an acceptable form of notice for something. Where does that, I guess, end? I know that they haven't updated the act for that, but
Yeah.
that's general practice, nobody communicates.
For sure. I would say that, to be honest, is a dice roll, depending on which hearing officer you will get. Some of them will want it very formal because that is what the RTA says. But the way that life moves this way, you know that they've responded to you, so you know that they've seen it. That just is a bigger buffer to your evidence. But you do still have to follow the proper means of service through the RTA. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've been hearing that people are just doing the communication via text and or email because it's a so you get a text.
I think it's going to change, that things will be able to be served via email eventually. They just haven't passed that quite yet.
No, they're very
Yeah.
slow passing the act to catch up
Yeah.
with general practices and sorts of service Alberta.
Yeah. I would just cover your butt by doing a bit of both. Yeah. Do the main, focus your conversation back and forth. Tenant's like, hey, I'm going to be late. Oh, you said you're going to be late again. I went through one where the tenant each month was something. I couldn't pay rent because my husband spilt Mr. Noodles on his toe and now he can't work. That was literally one of the reasons why they can't pay rent. And then the next month, I can't pay rent. My daughter had a birthday party. So that was great over text message because you're not going to send them a written notice. But at the start of the month, you're going to put that one notice saying, hey, you owe rent. You have not paid. This is what you owe right now. And then you would add in those emails, those texts, and things like that. So double down. And again, rent increases do have to be posted or registered mail. Either or, you? Sure.
So can you write up an agreement stating that this is common practice and then have both parties sign it? Would that technically work for this is common practice from text message, email? Would that technically work as well? I'm just
Yeah, same answer would be to Lane over there as well. Do the proper way as well, because it will be what is legally done by the RTA, because that goes above what your lease is. And you have to view it as the lease will, because you wrote it and the tenant didn't, the tenant gets a little bit more of a leeway than you, because they didn't write the agreement. They did sign it, but they weren't the ones who write it. And that's what the law will look at it that way. Yeah.
just trying to see if there's a loophole.
Yeah, I tried it. So we got a filed court order, and to the means of service, we have to actually go and post it to the property or registered mail or personally serve. But in the hearing, the tenant agreed to email service. They agreed, and I was like, okay, I will email this because he didn't want to give their new address, right? So I email it, I do the affidavit of service, I give it to the Court of King's Bench to sign. They're like, nope, doesn't matter if they agree or not, that's not what the law is. So
law always
we'll come first. Yeah. I think the RTDRS is a bit lenient, but again, it just depends who you get. Do you get someone who's been doing it for 20 years or someone who's really new, someone in the middle? It's a bit of a flavor test on that. I'll go to you here.
I just wanted to add one thing that I've been doing over the last few years is I've got an email plug. I use a separate email when I communicate with tenants, and I've got an email plugin that it's similar to kind of WhatsApp. So once it's delivered, you get a check mark.
Yes.
Once it's
The red receipts
received,
and
you get
stuff.
2 ticks. So you know they've opened your email. So even if they don't respond back, you know that you have proof that they've seen the email, right?
Yeah, and that's
If you ever need to
great
down the
evidence.
road, you can show that log, right, that it's been seen. So.
Yeah, we were recently doing one where the tenant said, I never signed the 6-month renewal. I'm on month to month. And we're like, nope, you're on a fixed term 6 month. The last time my signature, I didn't sign it. So then we were like, nope, that's you. It gets adjourned. We go back to the company and they can see the IP where it has been signed and be like, this is you. Someone in your house signed it then, and like go that way. So that is a great way to do it. I don't know if Yardi does stuff like that too in there or not, but there's a lot of communication that property managers will do and send it to us to timestamp it. Yes.
Yeah, couple things. From a practical standpoint, being a landlord, I would start in day one, do your emails, document it that way. 9 times out of 10, that's gonna be fine. When the relationship starts going sideways and things start slipping, you do it by the book. Else you're gonna be, like you said, like Kayla said, that's where you get yourself in trouble. And do the physical posting of the notices and all that stuff, because it's what's going to come down to how they're going to, look at your case at RTDRS. There's also a comment on tenant insurance getting canceled after the tenants moved in. We have a partner with Walnut, and what's really cool about it is when the tenant chooses to use our sign-up, and you can send an invite through your SingleKey account, we can give you automatic notification of cancellations of tenant insurance.
Yeah, there's other insurance companies too that will do it. I think Westland does the same thing too. It will notify you, but it just depends on who you go through. Want to do it? You had a question?
There were a few ones I saw a lease which had clauses, for example, indemnification, force majeure, and all that, which was, I think, not in alignment with the RTA. In those cases, even if the tenant signs it, is it?
The RTA will always override it. Yeah, because again, it'll lean towards the tenant because they didn't write it, you did.
Even what if the tenant wrote it?
Well, why would that would be a weird, yeah, I don't know. That would be, they will fall back onto the law, to the RTA. Yeah, so if you had something crazy in there, like when people do late penalties, so say, hey, you pay me, or each day is $200. I had a fellow come to us and say, this guy owes me $900,000. And I was like, how is this possible? How long are you waiting? What is going on? It's like, no, you got to do my case. It's like, I got questions first before I even touch this. And he said, well, each day that they don't pay, it's $1,000. And I was like, well, in the RTDRS, they will not grant late fees. They will not grant typically NSF. Occasionally they will if you have your bank statement showing how much the bank actually charged you. But in your lease, if you say it's a $50 for NSF, it's $100 a day that you're late, you won't get that money back because that is an additional burden on the tenant financially, and they will not grant it. So
that applies to the legal fees that the owner is also paying to get the court proceedings done, right?
yes, so if you do it through a company like ourselves, we can ask for $250 for the tenant to on top. So what that is agent representation, and then as well as your $75 is included in that, and then that we sent out a process server to serve you. So that is now covered. Previously it was $225. We've gone up to $250 now. So we can ask for that back, and then which goes to the landlord, which is great. Did you have a question?
Well,
Yeah.
no, just a comment. That
Yeah.
It's not even just the reverse of the RTR. Like you have to take into consideration when you're bothering to sue or go to the RTDRS. They can do whatever they want, and they err on the side of the tenant all the time. We had a tenant accidentally move out a month early. They thought their lease ended. They had signed the right lease. Everyone knew the lease ended. He's like, "Hey, we're not renewing we're moving out at the end of our lease." And he sent that about a month and a week early. We're like, "Yeah, okay, just we'll let you know we'll start lighting up showings, from the end of, say, August.
Yeah.
So he moves out at the end of July, and then he's like, hey, I've moved out, keys are on the whatever, what can I expect by security deposit? We're like, well, what are you talking about? Like, you're moving out at the end of August. No, I'm moving out at the end of, I told you I moved out at the end of my lease. It's like, yeah, your lease, we sent him his lease back here, you're moving out at the end of August. That's the end of your lease. So he took us to the RTDRS, and we're like, okay, like, this is like open and shut.
Yeah.
And so we even went back and forth, and went through a couple of cases, we're like, look, I get it, it's a mistake, and we tried to rent it, and we even tried to rent it, like, we even offered him like half-month rent back, if we could rent it for halfway through the month, and he's like, no, I want the full, whatever. And the RTDRS ended up signing for, ended up giving him like half a month rent, basically. It's like, we never rented it, we lost out on all that money.
Yeah.
There was no, so he accidentally moved out early, and then said we should pay him anyways, his security deposit back. And they split the difference, basically, to give him something for his time. And it was like he wasn't like a nice guy. He was like a real jerk about it, like kind of trying to threaten us and everything, like every awful thing. And like for some reason they just still get, we're like, did they really? And we were told we could probably overturn that if we went to court. It's like, well, why would we?
It's again, your time is worth.
Yeah.
That's a very odd one to me that they did that.
We were all shocked.
How long ago was that?
It's almost like because we tried to help him, it was like we engaged in the conversation that it should even be legitimate. It's like the more we tried to help, and even offer, well, why don't we split the difference? We could try and rent for halfway through the month. We're trying to do that, we'll do that anyways. And it kind of got to that place. But yeah, we were all shocked that it came back like that.
I am extremely shocked that it came back that way.
To me as well.
Yeah, I would for the same scenario.
The entire security deposit back, even though she ended it early.
For moving out early.
No, it wasn't that he ended. He moved out a month earlier than he was supposed to, and didn't realize.
Yeah.
Like
And
it was like, oh no, I moved out.
And willfully moved out for a month early.
If you guys,
Yeah, but that's willfully. That wasn't a mistake. This guy just moved out thinking.
Either or
Demanded I pay it.
pay the security back. But what about your 1 month loss?
No, I lost 4 months
4.
because she left 4 months early.
so a couple things here.
I mean, I was able to rent it soon after. The thing is,
Okay, so you did rent it.
soon after.
Yeah, so you didn't lose 4 months then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
lost a month.
So
They
that
still
could be
ask
why I think they did that for you.
They still ask for it though, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
where is the law? Where is the written law? Like, there is no. I find that there's no justice in this.
There definitely is justice in it. I would have to look at yours a little bit more to explain. Yours sounds like they moved out early, you found someone in really quickly, no harm, no foul, return the security deposit kind of thing. I could see why they did that. Yours, I have no idea how that was ruled that way.
Like normally I don't go to. I'm just like.
Yeah.
But it would be good to submit a complaint because.
Well, how long ago was that, Wayne?
Well, this is probably 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
But a couple of things. You want to submit complaints when those things happen because they're bringing on new staff to train people. Ideally, if the RTS functions in the perfect world, every case that has the same merit comes out with the same result. But there's human.
But there's.
Okay.
You have to be careful with that.
Ideally, I did ideally.
Yeah,
but
because
it's not.
complaining, or it could look like he just didn't like the outcome. But
Okay.
that's where he would have to walk a fine. I would be very careful with that.
Well, I'm saying it's worth. Okay.
Yeah, I would.
Difference of opinions.
Pause on that one. Yeah.
A couple of
Definitely. Yeah.
A couple other things.
Throw it down.
To your comment, in the RTA, you have a legal obligation to minimize loss.
Yeah.
So yes, you had 4 months, but you rented out at 3 months, and you only had it off the tenant for a month. You only had a loss of 1 month. And then also, you have to put a statement in your lease in Alberta. If this lease contradicts the RTA, the RTA overrules. So you can't contract yourself out of what the legislation says.
Mm-hmm.
The legislation always rules. And some of the conversation we had earlier.
Yes.
Are you allowed to charge for paying someone to re-rent it for you? Like, let's say I have a property map, like, let's say.
An admin fee? Yes, you
Yeah,
can.
so you can, so if somebody moves out early, I'm like, I'm on vacation when you're ending your lease, I didn't know you were ending your lease, I have to pay someone to do this now, and I pay a property manager to do it, I can
Yep.
charge them whatever, 1 month or.
Yeah, if it's a reasonable rate. Like, again, you can't be like, $10,000, this guy's gonna do it. You owe me some cash.
Once you rent it out, you can't rent to two people, you can't charge for.
You can't double dip. Correct, yes. Yeah, so no, you can charge an admin fee, even if they got it, someone within, say, 5 days.
Yeah.
Say they do it, you rent it out right away, but you had to pay that admin fee.
Yeah, 'cause we still have to pay them.
Yes.
To do that, yeah.
The only time that wouldn't happen is if it is like 1 month less to your lease. So you're gonna have to endure that anyways right away. So they don't always grant it when it's near the end of a lease, but they will say if it's halfway through, because that's a burden you wouldn't need at that point.
Oh, yeah, fair.
Yeah, because you're gonna have to re-rent it in a month anyway. You should be doing showings in this month anyways to re-rent it.
Yeah, you're good.
Exactly. So if it's a little bit more.
Pay your property manager to do it in,
Exactly, so you can't claim that. Yeah, very much
In my
so.
case,
Yes.
In the case that I said, I asked, hey, what about the cost of advertising and showing?
Yep.
And all of those expenses. And the arbitrator, RTDRS, says, that's your cost.
No.
And so, okay,
So that would be, you can do it
fine,
on it.
I paid it.
What I would have said, did you show was your evidence there that day on how much it cost you to re-rent it? That's why they would have dismissed it, because you didn't put it in there. There's no.
They plainly said it's your cost of business.
Yeah, it's not. Again, like I said, if it's closer to the end of the lease, yours had 4 months. You can definitely go in and put that in there. Yeah.
They just split. The guy on the other line said, that is your cost of business, sir.
Oh, interesting. I wonder if he would have said the same if you had evidence showing that it cost you this much to re-rent it. I don't know. Again, that's where the gamble is. You're going to get one of 25 people and how it's going to go. And when I say documentation, they're going to go off their book. Oh, you've seen an email. You agree that you're late on rent. Oh, they even posted it for you. What are we doing here? And it'll go one way or the other. You'll get a conditional order, which will mean that they'll have to pay a certain amount and rent on time for an X amount. If they don't, they're out in a certain amount of time, or an unconditional order where they have a termination date. And then it's done.
Also, DocuSign is okay, yeah?
Yep.
If we do a rent increase or renewal of term lease, a DocuSign is fine without having to post.
No, you still have to post it. The RTA writes that. That's not me telling you.
Okay, no, that's fine.
But DocuSign is great. You still have to post it.
Even after they've signed the DocuSign.
Yeah, that is the proper way to do it.
Are you-
Again, I won't tell you how to do your business. You go as you wish, but you do have to post a rental increase.
Are you using
The
Or-
one that they signed or the notice or?
The notice, the one that's saying that it's going to increase, and then you can do your DocuSign.
So a
What
couple
if they
things.
DocuSigned it already? I still have to post it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
just to cover yourself.
Yeah, you bet.
It's only if they come back at you.
Perfect.
I'm more of the over caution and to follow the rule of it.
So, sorry, just to clarify, your question was
Yeah.
if you sign a new lease at a higher amount with the tenant?
Yeah, so
Not a new lease, a rent increase.
Rent increase or renewal of term?
Well, renewal of term is different.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Those are two very different
Yeah,
things.
the end of the
Yes.
term is when I would raise my rent.
100%. Then you don't have to do the rent increase.
It's basically like a new.
So there's,
Yeah, so
there's a
sorry,
difference
you
in
said a-
process and documentation.
Yeah, so a rental increase, say they're month to month, a year has gone by, you want to increase it, you have to give them their notice. But if it's on a fixed term, you're re-signing them for another year, you can do it then. That's
So
fine.
Usually I do a single pager that says renew,
Yeah, you're doing a
This is
renewal,
renewing the
not a
renewal
rent
term
increase.
plus-
Two different. Yeah.
The new lease will be this
Yes,
as
correct.
well.
So that's, you're renewing and you're putting in a new condition.
A new price.
Correct, yes.
A brand new.
I don't need to post that.
No, because
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
a
there
new
we go.
lease that you're signing with them. It's not a rental increase.
And-
Because but it has to be a year. If you're doing 6 months at a time, you cannot increase the rent every 6 months.
Just to
That's
clarify.
365 days.
Yeah, so just
Yeah.
to clarify, a new lease, we're not writing an entire new lease.
Correct.
We're just,
You're doing a
extending
renewal.
The original lease, and that,
With a new term.
that's still good enough as a. new
Yes,
term.
that's a
Okay,
renewal.
perfect,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes.
So basically, there is no benefit whatsoever of a month to month, right? So
I
if
don't
you
think
want
so.
to say, okay, we do for a month.
There is if you're a tenant.
Yes, I would fix term Always, 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 always. Even if you did. Exactly, yeah, but have it fixed term for the month. Yes. No, I would, again, you can, I would not recommend it. Because say you wanted to get them out, it's a lot easier to do when it's a fixed term than versus a month to month. Yeah, very much so.
Even if a tenant wants to stay like one extra month at the end of a lease, I make them sign a 1 month lease.
100%. Yes, I agree with that. Yeah.
And to the point, you can sign a lease of any term, any length, any random duration. If it's within that first 365 days, like Kayla was saying, the rent cannot be changed or increased. You cannot stack the rent saying like, okay, let's say I can do an 18-month lease, so a year and a half, but at the 12-month, the rent's gonna go up to whatever. The rent has to be the same for the duration of that term of that lease. You cannot fudge that number. Even if you're thinking you're going past 365 days, it has to be at that time you can serve it, because I've tried doing this.
Yeah, there's ways you can do that with, like, we can discuss it offline here, how to get creative with that. You could do a rent abatement. So say the lease is $2,000, but for the first 6 months, you're only going to charge $1,500 and then it's going to go up. You can do that because you're doing a rent abatement. So there's different ways to get around that, but you can't just blankly change it. But yeah.
So can you, if you have a 1 year lease, do you have to take them 90 days notice prior to increase it? Or you can do it within?
No, you could do it when you do your renewal. Yeah. Yeah. And again, even you don't have to give them notice that you're not renewing it either. I would suggest you do out of common courtesy, but do not give a reason. And you do not have to give a reason whatsoever if it's fixed term. You can just end it when it ends. Yes.
So 2 questions for that. One is, you said even if they want to do 1 more month, do a fixed term 1 month lease.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there would be tenants who would be like, if I'm just doing 1 month, let's just do month to month because they want to avoid it.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, what's the benefit or what's the pros and cons in this situation?
Of them wanting to do month to month?
No, for the landlord, why, even if it's for a month, why are we adamant on having a fixed term? What does that bring to the table?
It gives you the option to end it. So,
the tenant after a month can say, you know what, I actually don't want to move out.
and they don't have to, because now you've rolled them into month to month. And then,
90 days notice.
yeah, and depending on the reasons, like you have to move back in or someone you know, or you're selling the property. But if it's like being demolished or you have to give them a year's notice, like there's a lot more rules to it. Then if you had a fix and they're like, well, I want to stay longer, then that's up to you. If you want to make it longer, you'd be like, no, actually, we're done.
And then coming to rental increase, if you don't have to give them the notice and then you do it on the day of renewal, at that time they can say that they need to make arrangements. Isn't that fair practice to give them some notice for rent increase?
Yeah, so if you, well, again, this is how you want to manage your own property. A best practice that I would say, and a lot of companies tend to give 2 months or a month's notice prior to it ending. So let's say you want to give a 1 month's notice, be like, hey, you're up for renewal. It's November 30th. We want to sign you for another 12 years. The rent is going to be 12, or yeah, sorry. You could do that if you want. Sorry. The rent is now for the next 12 months is going to be $1,500 instead of $1,200 from what it previously. Are you interested? Yes or no? Again, that saves you time because you don't want to do it on the wire and they say no. Now you're like, well, the month's already started. I got to find somebody else. So I would recommend giving them notice and then you'll say that's what the new agreement will be. And that is the perk of doing the fixed term. You can set those parameters as well. Yeah.
Just to clarify that point,
Mm-hmm.
if you have a two-year fixed term lease
Mm-hmm.
and you have a schedule of rent increase,
You can't do it.
you can do it.
Because you've locked them in for those 2 years. Now, like what I was saying before, you can get creative with some of those and do a rent abatement. So you could say the first year, so the whole lease is going to be $4,000, but I'll give you a rent abatement for the first 12 months. You're going to get $2,000 off. After that, it's going to go to $4,000. So there is creative ways to do it in that way, but your lease has to be set that way. You can't increase it midway. Even if they signed a 5-year or anything, you are stuck at that price.
And then you also cannot change the rent abatement 6 months after.
Correct. Yeah, it has to be all done prior to them taking possession of the property. Yeah.
Like we signed my current tenants in December here. I don't want to lease renewal in December. It's not a great time to rent.
Mhm.
To do other things. So I did a 15-month lease or whatever it was to move the termination into the end of June or July, whatever I posted. But now I've locked myself in a little bit longer. I can't do a rent increase for the last month. But you know what? I'm okay with that. I want to get that renewal into the moving season. But yeah, to the other point, he was asking, you could do a rent at a much higher rate and then get discounted for the first little while, but you have to do that from day one.
Yes.
You can't. It's that ad hoc after the point you cannot.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Well, it's a crazy topic. But yeah, like I said before, I guess the next slide is questions anyways. Our company will take care of the RTDRS process for you if you are wanting to put an application on your tenant. And the sooner you do it, the better it will be for you. Don't wait 6 months and be like, I haven't really been paid in full for a while. Do it sooner than later. And you can go ahead and go for it. But again, we take the emotion out of it. Sometimes it runs high. You talk to that person more than we ever do. And then we can just go in. In fact, we know how it runs. They know who we are. We do these probably 4 a day at a minimum. So we're in there quite often. But yeah.
What do you charge?
We charge for a walk-in $650, and that's everything included in that. So what that'll give you is we'll do the application. We will serve the tenant. We will represent you in the hearing. And then afterwards, it does have to be filed with the Court of King's Bench, which we'll do. And then you have to do an affidavit of service, which that has to be filed with the Court of King's Bench as well. And then you'll have all your paperwork in a nice package if you had to hire a bailiff. So we make sure everything's lined up. Bailiff, we recommend using Servant Bailiff. Legally, I could tell you can use anyone you want, but we do recommend Servant. Yeah. For them, I believe it's $519. And they are based on, it doesn't matter if it takes all day or 15 minutes, it's the same price. So there's no base and then after the fact.
Can we include that cost to the charges that we want, if we're the one like filing for?
Yeah, if you're coming to me, you can only claim up to $250. Yeah. Yeah. RTDRS puts a limit on it. Yeah. Because then I could charge $10,000 and it goes to that guy, right? So they make it so it's a fair, not a financial penalty as high.
And the charge that you have, it doesn't matter like how much is the cost of pursuing the tenant?
Correct. Doesn't matter on cost or anything of that. If any of you are a large landlord with multiple doors, we do a corporate rate as well, depending on the volume of work that comes in. But just anyone off the street at $650. Yeah. And that's GST included as well. Yeah. I hope none of you have to go to the RTDRS. But yeah, if you do, you can definitely contact us. We can help you out with any questions. Even if you're trying to navigate it on your own, we can help consult you on that. Or if you just want someone else to take it over, because it is time consuming. Yes.
I believe you mentioned that even verbal communications are accepted. How does...
Like a verbal lease?
Yeah, verbal lease or a verbal commitment. How is that verified and how is that really, how judgment is passed on that?
So I don't tend to take anything that's a verbal lease because they're going to want the landlord who it was through to talk about it. So why pay me when you're going to have to do it anyways? And it's pretty much who has a more compelling conversation at that point.
It's like a story hearing and... Pretty
much. Yeah, and they could say, nope, he didn't say that. He said this, this, this. I remember on this day, and my kid was there, and da, da, da. And yours like, nope, this is what we signed. This is why I do not recommend a verbal lease. Protect yourselves. Protect your investment, your business. Do it the proper way at the start. Yeah, but verbal is wild. But it is accepted, so you can do it. Just more of an uphill battle you'll have.
I think more of a comment Kayla highlighted was you've got your lease and then you decided to give approval for a pet 6 months in on a text message or call. You got to get that in writing and say, put an official
addendum to your lease.
That I approve you for one pet being specific. It's not open-ended like we could bring in the farm. It's all these things, but it's hilarious. Man, we've seen some stuff out there and it's just,
Yeah, and like I could do a whole thing on funky things you could put in a lease and stuff like that, especially utilities and stuff. Sometimes when somebody caps it, someone put a tanning bed in. Well, your utility is going to go really high, but yeah, something of that. And you're not protected of that because your utilities, you've capped it at $250. That's what you're going to include in here. That's what it is. So if you had it as that, be mindful what you put in your lease. So things that would take high power, but yeah, crypto mining would be a high power source. So yeah, you could be mindful.
Somebody, if I remember, told me you cannot charge a fee for the pet. Is that correct?
No, you could charge a pet fee. Yeah.
You can't charge a deposit.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes. Yeah. You can charge a fee for them though. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
It has to be non-refundable, so that
Yes.
you probably can't see 1 month.
Yeah.
1 month's rent.
Yes.
This is a fee though, a monthly fee.
Yeah, but you can't say that your rent is $1,000, but if you want a dog, it's going to be an extra $2,000. You can't do that, is what he is explaining to you.
Yeah, on your lease, you have a stated total amount of rent to be comprised of all your different rents. Rents could be rent, utilities, parking fees, storage fees, pet fees. Those are all listed. But at the end of the month, there's a total amount, and then your deposit cannot exceed that 1 month's total amount.
Yeah.
So absolutely, you can charge pet fees. And so when
You just can't go above rent.
But it's got to be, as you structure your lease, there is going to be that total amount, and then that's the thing you can't be adding things on top of because it's not no longer your lease.
And with that said, if I know the market is quite soft, you want to keep your tenant, say they've been paying $1,700, like, hey, you've been great, I'm going to knock you down to $1,600, but their security deposit was at that, you need to refund the difference as soon as you make that change. So you don't get to keep the higher amount, you have to refund.
How about the interest that comes with that?
You would give that at that point too. Yeah.
How about if the rent increases and the deposit stays the same? Do you have to?
No, so it doesn't work that way. Yeah, right? It's interesting, yeah. You could do it if you return the damage deposit and then got a new one back. Like, again, there's creative ways to do things that way, but no, it's only if it's the difference of lower.
Say
Yes.
you sign a new lease.
Yes.
On a higher amount, so can you ask for the extra?
Nope. No. Unless you return their old one and then you ask for the new one back.
Can ask for the difference, right?
Yeah, you could do that. That's just starting a whole new tenancy. So you wouldn't be doing a renewal, you'd be doing a brand new lease. So you could do it that way, theoretically, if you wanted to. I don't know if it's worth your hassle though. Unless it's huge. If your rent went from $2,000 to $8,000, then maybe. Yeah.
Happy with the hassle from your perspective.
No, exactly, because you're already getting an increase in rent. And then if you're going to do that, so it's really what's worth it to you. And again, I'd put that in your own discretion. Yes.
So to clarify, because I have dropped a few rents that I didn't do. If the tenant asked me for the security deposit back, I probably give it to them, but they didn't ask, I didn't ask, I didn't give it to them. There's no actual penalty or anything for it, I just can't keep it in the event that they move out, right? Like nobody's, security, reduced rent, reduction, police.
Exactly, yeah. So
It's just that in the end, if I'm in the RTDRS trying to keep their security deposit, I would have to have given that part back. Just be like, I dropped to around $150 a month, so I'll give you that part back, but keeping the rest.
correct, yes. So standard practice blanket, again, I'll close my eyes, you do what you wish. You should return it, but yeah, it'll come down. If you do end up through the RTDRS, expect that portion will have to be returned to them and then can go from there.
Fees to consider, like fees, you can't when fees RTS. Fees have a practical use on a lease still, they're a great deterrent.
Oh yes, I would keep them on there, yeah.
You don't have to remove from the lease, they're, you can make sure they're reasonable, not that $1,000 a day, but at $20 or whatever. Some fee that's reasonable, because again, it's a great deterrent. It's only when it becomes, when you get in a situation where you need to enforce the RTDRS, then you can't enforce it. But today to day, and deter tenants from certain behaviors, those fees that are unenforceable still work well. Just being
Yeah, and it doesn't stop you if the tenant was like, oh, I'm 2 days late, sorry, I owe you the $25 penalty. You could still accept it. It's just if you were trying to recoup that money down the line through the court, you won't be able to.
Move-in inspection, if we haven't done one yet, is it possible to do it as soon as possible?
Yeah, so you won't be able to claim anything from prior because there's no condition record that officer can use. But from that point going forward, and they've done damage, then you've got paper trail.
Yeah, so again, do it as soon as possible. Sooner is better. because they can claim at a certain period of time of that. It just looks better on you to do it all at the beginning. But yeah, I would do it right away as soon as possible.
Scenario here, so you pay the security deposit, you do a pre-move-in inspection.
Yep.
And you find out that the tap water is not good enough for you to live and drink that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you decide he's taking too long, and then you decide that you don't want to move in now. What happens to the deposit, and what happens in that scenario?
So you being the landlord, I would think you would just return it. Your property isn't up to Alberta health standards. If there's no clean drinking water or plumbing, you're going to get slapped with that, because if I was the tenant, I'd be calling in AHS. And then you will have to go return it because it's not as advertised what they had. So as a landlord, and I'm a landlord myself as well, I would recommend cutting your losses at that point. If you can't get it, return it. That kind of situation just didn't work out for you. But they could fight you in that, being like, hey, I moved in, we did an inspection, there's no water, I can't live here. So now you've broken your half of the deal with not giving them a proper living condition. So you would have to result giving it back anyways. So you might as well just do it instead of doing the song and dance through the court, would be my recommendation to you. But with the full disclosure, your business, you do you. Yeah, but yeah, that's just unfortunate timing of that. Yes, sorry, did you have your hand up? Oh, yes.
On a multifamily building, what's the landlord's responsibility between tenants? So let's say there's an altercation between tenants in the building.
Yeah.
Are there, what if the tenant says, you're the landlord, you owe me $6,000 because this, one of your tenants just beat me up?
Yeah.
Is there grounds for such?
So you wouldn't have a financial responsibility if the other tenant was assaulted by somebody else. There should be a police report first off, and that becomes a criminal matter now between these two parties. Now, if that went to court, you would have to, it would depend, that one's hard to answer because it would depend on what is being said. So if they only came to you and be like, hey, I want damages because Joe across the street whooped my butt, then you'd be like, bounce, get lost. But if it was something that say, hey, I've been telling you that my door hasn't been locking properly, and then Joe just walked right into my apartment because of it, you will fall on some responsibility of that. Now, will it be $6,000 in damages? Not through the RTDRS because they don't do medical or anything of that nature. That's where it would become a criminal and you would have to go through the Court of King's Bench, which is a provincial. Yeah, so it really just depend on the situation.
So, yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm dealing with a situation right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, again, cover your butt with like doing stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I would love to see what that case would look like or what evidence he would put in that that's your fault. Yeah, I don't think there'd be much merit to that. Yeah, but they will try. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't sue you for $6,000. It just probably won't be successful. Yeah.
So it sounds like
Yeah.
you need to hire her.
Yeah. Okay, I think we've been here for quite a while. I don't want to take up anybody else's time or anything. If anyone has any questions, I'll hang out for a little bit. Otherwise, thanks for letting me come. I know we got a little bit sidetracked on there. And we did more leases than our TDRS, which could be a whole other thing, but here we are. Yeah.
Kayla and Mackenzie,
Yeah.